Hi, I'm Kevin Weslowski, and it has been 25 years since I graduated high school. My daughter graduated high school this year, and it made me think of my own graduation. This video is a reflection on the past 25 years since I graduated. 25 years is not an insignificant period of time to go by. I felt that marking this milestone with a collection of musings and thoughts would be a fun way to reconnect. If I didn't do this summer, I probably wouldn't get around to it for another 5 or 10 years. Life gets busy, and this project would have been shelved. If you don't already know me, you won't know where I graduated from or what year I graduated, although you could probably do the math and figure it out. I graduated from Greenall High School in 1997. I probably wouldn't have made this video if I wasn't also the valedictorian for my graduating class. A valedictorian is honored with being given a unique privilege by his graduating class. His address is to make a valediction, to say farewell. And so I did, 25 years ago. Some in my graduating class stayed together or kept in touch, but many went their separate ways. Valediction comes from the Latin phrase valedicere, which means to say goodbye. Thanks, Internet. That's one thing I probably wouldn't have bothered to look up 25 years ago. Now it takes about 5 seconds. So, since I was a valedictorian 25 years ago and I said goodbye, you'd think that would now make me a salutatorian because I'm expressing salutations, right? Apparently not. A salutatorian is a student who delivers a salutation during a graduating ceremony. We didn't have one of those during our graduation ceremony, and I think I've bored you with enough nerding out on ceremonial terminology. Let's suffice to say that I bring salutations to you, my fellow graduates, and we can move on. 25 years. Where has the time gone? What have we all been up to? I know these days a lot of people use social media to chronicle the significant events in their lives, as well as the insignificant events in their lives. I'm not one who uses social media all that much. So if you have been posting updates and we haven't been communicating any other way, I probably won't be up to speed. I actually make a conscious effort to avoid sucking up my time scrolling and flipping. How much time do you ask? Well, according to postbeyond.com, the average Gen Xer spends about 7 hours a week on social media. Some quick math here. 7 hours a week times 52 weeks a year times 25 years is about 9,100 hours, or about 379 days. Yeah, over a year. Thanks again, Internet. Now, to be fair, we didn't have social media 25 years ago, so the numbers don't quite add up, but you get the picture. Now, I'm not completely against social media. It has its purposes, tracking us, harvesting data from us, and treating us like we're the product. Oh wait, those are the nefarious purposes. Social media brings us together when we can't be physically together. Yes, it has its pluses, even though we sacrifice our privacy with each click, scroll, and tap. And don't make a mistake and say something you shouldn't, because once it's on the internet, it's nearly impossible to get it off the internet. But I digress. This recording is coming to you on one of the biggest video platforms out there, YouTube. And what social media platforms do I use to manage the social media pages for my church? Facebook and Twitter. And who did I look up the other day on one LinkedIn platform when I was curious what became of our illustrious morning announcement town crier, Michael Fallman? So I guess what I'm saying is that social media has its place, as long as it's used cautiously and in moderation. Speaking of Michael Fallman, I thought I'd reach out to him and see if he would be willing to do a cameo for me, and he kindly accepted. Michael, you're up.
Good morning, students of Greenall. It's been a bit of time since I've done morning announcements. I'm a bit more gray. I suspect our football team isn't running quite as quickly. I'll bet our Grease performers aren't hitting the high notes like they used to. But beyond that, so much has changed in the past 25 years, probably more than any of us would have ever imagined. And here to talk about that is Kevin Weslowski, our class valedictorian. I hope that everyone is doing very well. Look forward to catching up with you in person very soon. Kevin, over to you.
Thanks, Michael. Well, some people never change. That's still the same Michael I remember. Speaking of change, what happened to my hair? During the pandemic and some extended periods at home, I had the opportunity to do some deep follicle introspection, and I wasn't happy with the way the battle was going for hair dominance on my scalp. It was a losing battle, folks, and as the saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. The pandemic also gave me an opportunity to try out some facial hair looks. Mountain Man Kevin wasn't very popular, and I felt I needed something different than clean shaven. What I settled on was this short length variation on the corporate beard, which has this chin strap and a mustache. Whatever. It's fine for a change for a while. But this video isn't about me. I want it to be a message from me, but for all and from all of you. What does that even mean? Well, I'll let you unpack that while you're watching. A few years ago, I did some house cleaning and came across some remnants from my grade 12 year. I scanned the paper documents and then discarded the originals. For those of you who find it hard to part with physical documents, this may seem a bit sad, but to me, it's the essence of the document that matters. The meaning isn't bound to a piece of paper. It's what's on that paper. And if you can digitize that, it's all the same to me. I did the same thing with physical pictures I had from then too, because for those of you watching that are too young to grasp this, there was a time before digital photography. As you've probably guessed, I don't like to hoard physical things. I prefer digital. That said, I do tend to wear out clothes instead of getting bored of them and giving them away. And boy, do I have a stack of clothes from high school that are occasionally worn and are aging, but still have some life left. For nostalgia purposes, here is the Greenall memorabilia that I still have. Here's a shirt. Must be a basketball shirt. Looks like another basketball shirt here. Tournament champions. Super hoops. Yeah. Let's see. Another warm-up shirt, I think. You see at the bottom here, it says it starts with stops. This one wasn't really a Greenall branded shirt, but it was one of those undershirts that we wore underneath our jerseys, and if you'll notice, there's no sleeves on it. That's courtesy Craig Istas, who advised us that we should be cutting off the sleeves so we looked more like real basketball players, I guess. Here's another shirt. It's a bit faded, but yeah, I think this was another warm-up shirt, maybe from grade 12. This one was from earlier years, a bit older, I think. Yeah, here's another. This one actually says 95 on the back, so I know what year that one's from. This one actually had nothing to do with Greenall, but this was one I picked up when I was in Meadow Lake. Here's another Greenall one. Can't remember what year that was from, but it does have my name on the back. One more shirt here. This is actually a golf shirt that I got when I was coaching at Greenall. Nothing on the back there. There you have it. I hope that has kindled some fond memories for you. And no, I didn't hang on to them solely because I'm, how should I say this?
You're extremely careful with money.
Right. Extremely careful with money. That's not why I hung on to them. I hung on to them because they have special meaning to me. High school was a great period in my life. Anyway, as part of my reflection on the past 25 years, I went through these documents that I mentioned earlier, and I had some memories and names fled back. The London trip during Easter break. This was a great experience for a subset of the graduating class that will always be special to me. After being warned about pickpockets in London, where did I experience the most drama? When I was detained in the Toronto airport after returning from London, because I was a suspected criminal. I don't remember the exact circumstances, but I think I had a similar name or likeness to a known drug or arms dealer. Other documents I have are from the awards ceremony, awards documents, our grad program, grad scroll list, the grad reception at the Ramada, which is now called the Delta and only costs $25 per ticket for supper and dance. And I wonder what that would cost now. I also found my valedictory address. I guess I kept a copy of it all these years. I read it over, and it's not too bad. I need to give Rita Shep and Gay Miller a lot of credit for helping me craft something meaningful to say 25 years ago. Incidentally, you wouldn't have known this, but during the valedictory address, as I stood on stage at the Center of the Arts, now known as the Connexus Art Center, behind that podium, my knees were literally knocking. It was so cliche, and I'm so glad my knees had my gown to hide behind, and I had the podium to hide behind. I don't have, and I'm not aware of any recording of the valedictory address. I would be interested to listen or watch that today. The closest thing I have that compares to it is a clip that I had to pull off a VHS recording of me walking across the stage at my university convocation in 2001.
Kevin Wilhelm Weslowski, great distinction.
I admit to.
Yikes. Even that was 21 years ago. Anyway, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to re-deliver that same valedictory address. Let's see how well, or not, it has withstood the test of time. Here we go. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow graduates. This is one of the last times our class will be gathered together. Therefore, I would like to make a formal farewell on behalf of the Greenall graduating class of 1997 to everyone who helped us succeed. I would like to sincerely thank my peers for bestowing this honor upon me. I hope that my message today is an adequate medium through which all of their appreciative thoughts can be expressed and shared. I know that this school, its teachers, and our parents have made us who we are. I would like to quickly give you some idea of how these influences have helped us to grow in intellect, in relationships, and in acquiring essential life skills. Some very special people, however, deserve initial recognition. These people are our parents. Around 17 or 18 years ago, they brought us into this world with great hopes for us. Today, we are fulfilling one of their many goals. Along the way, we've been able to deal with frustration, disappointment, and pessimism, thanks to the reassurance provided by our parents. I know that they have had a difficult time trying to remember what it was like to be a teenager and to understand how we work. They grew as parents as we grew as people, and they obviously figured us out. Our success is shown in today's celebration of achievement. As you can probably tell, I like to give credit where credit is due. So I'd like to thank one more group of people, the teachers of Greenall, and the teachers of schools prior to our enrollment at Greenall. Truly we have been blessed by the presence of these people who genuinely showed us respect and helped us succeed, even if it meant personal sacrifice for them. I know that many of us are going to be sorry that we didn't appreciate this treatment when we move on to post-secondary education, where the professors are supposedly cold and unconcerned about our well-being. I'm sure that every one of us could list a number of teachers who made a difference in our lives, as well as several teachers who just drove us mad, and we may have driven them mad in return. But the majority of teachers have had a positive impact on our lives. I don't envy the job that teachers have to do to keep us in line, but we certainly do appreciate every little bit of assistance they have given us in the past 13 years. Teachers must be the most patient life forms on the face of the earth. This patience can't be learned. It must be natural. This shows how special the people working with us are. I mean, my former kindergarten teacher is still teaching kindergarten classes. Anyone who can maintain her sanity while controlling hyperactive 5-year-olds for over 20 years should be commended. A most recent example is the hair-ripping experience of organizing our annual Greenall fashion show. Isn't that right, Mrs. Smith? I'm sure that we nearly sent her and her co-coordinators to the nut house. My point is that a lot of our accomplishments can be attributed directly to their additional voluntary efforts to make us better and smarter people. Over the past 13 years, I've heard some interesting questions asked about the purpose of schooling in general. How is this going to help us in life? When am I going to use this for anything? And how will we use algebra in real situations? Just to name a few. I'm sure my Algebra 30 class will never forget the day when Mr. Wicks humored us by taking an entire 40 minutes to explain why algebra is important. I think the main thing we learned that day was to not ask that question again. Man, did that take a while. I don't think that individual classes we take in high school will help us a lot in future careers. However, I'm confident that the entire school atmosphere has changed us for the better. Take me, for example. I didn't experience real fun until I was exposed to high school teachers and students. What I learned from them wasn't academic, but how to deal with people and how to find friends who were suited to my true personality. Now, after a great deal of complaining about school in general, I think we are all thankful for the experience called high school. It is often called the best 3 or 4 years, and sometimes 5 or 6 years, of one's life. Within the walls of Greenall, our class had formed some important relationships, some of which we will lose in the years to come, and some which will stay with us for many years. Whatever the case, our experiences in high school have given us some understanding of how to survive socially after we enter the real world. Whether we realized it or not, our actions also affected the students and teachers around us. I am happy to say that the efforts of our SRC and other volunteers have helped me and many others understand responsibility and its rewards. By incorporating some of these principles from our leaders into our own personalities, the rest of us pick up on how we can take charge of situations outside of the school walls. Therefore, we have built an academic social atmosphere where we help our peers become better people and vice versa, and learn a few basic facts on the side. Now that we have officially graduated from high school, we shouldn't think that we are through with learning, especially those of us who are continuing our education in post-secondary institutions. But for those who have decided to pursue other interests, you will, I'm sorry to inform you about this, have to learn for the rest of your lives. Whether we have to be trained or retrained for numerous jobs throughout our lives, or we have to adapt to a changing world, we will, no doubt, be learning until we die, because full knowledge is our goal. Because there is so much knowledge in the world, we will never gain it all. I recall a number of our teachers informing me that they are still learning at their present jobs, which tells me that they are underqualified. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, it tells me that they are perfect examples of what we will be like when we are older, constantly trying to learn more and more. I think this is an important goal for us in our lives, because we simply won't survive in the fast-paced world living a slothful lifestyle. Wherever we end up, or whatever we become, we will always face challenges from the unknown. By using the learning skills from high school, we will be able to overcome any challenges we encounter. Upon reflection of past graduating classes and future graduating classes, I can honestly say that I am glad to be a part of this one. There are several reasons that our class is one of the best group of students to ever graduate from Greenall. So many of my classmates worked extremely hard to make the past 3 years the most memorable of our lives. This dedication and completely unselfish nature displayed is proof to me that Greenall has brought up some of the most responsible and caring young adults around, which is exactly what the world needs. Many of these people decline their due recognition for reasons of modesty, which reinforces the need for these people in our community. I'm sure these people know who they are, and if we think for a moment, we would be able to remember at least one incident where a member of this graduating class contributed time and effort for the good of the school and their fellow classmates. Our combined spirit for our school is also unsurpassed. I believe we have reached the pinnacle of enthusiasm by one graduating class. To name a few, some of the best sporting finishes in history, not to mention the relentless fan support, drama contribution, dances, and unforgettable spirit activities. Nothing in the past can compare to the standard we have set here. But what will the future hold? Well, I'm told that the future classes will only increase in size. Bigger doesn't necessarily mean better. And when this school produces a class that can outmatch our brute, ebullient nature, I think we would all like to see a demonstration of such savageness. So, in conclusion, I'll bet many of you are glad to hear those 2 words. But really, I'd like to thank everyone again who helped my class and me get this far. It has been an honor to give the 1997 valedictory address for Greenall High School. Thank you. Interesting. Lots of thank yous and appreciation in there. I name dropped a few teachers' names and some experiences we endured. There is even a little nugget at the end when I used the word savageness, which, if I remember correctly, was a term we used on the basketball team at the time. I think it had to do with our tenacious defense. So, I won't be trying to top that or rewrite it or anything like that. I think this video will suffice as a retrospect and maybe add a bit of wisdom from what I have learned over the past 25 years. Hopefully, it's relatable to many of you. You each have your own stories and journeys through life. I encourage you to reflect on your own journey and chronicle your own experiences and share them with others to uplift each other. Unfortunately, on a more serious tone, we have lost some classmates. Some we grew up with and passed away before reaching graduation, and some have passed away after graduation. I don't know all the classmates we've lost, but in the remnants I stumbled on recently, I found some newspaper clippings from 2 of my past classmates, Ryan Botkin and Jared Spears. For these and any others who have passed away, may your souls rest in peace. I guess this would be a good time to reflect on regrets. You never know how much time you have left, and as the saying goes, seize the day. I've had a few instances where I should have taken a risk. I should have said something to someone. What I could have said, or should have said, could have totally changed the course of my life and theirs. And it could have changed yours. Many things in life just fall together without our influence, but some things you just have to reach out and grab. And if you miss that chance to reach out and grab them, you'll never get another chance. Many things have second chances, but many things don't. People come along in your life, and you cross paths with them. Grab onto the ones you love, and don't let that special someone get away. Take my advice. Seize the day. Those parents and teachers that I mentioned in the valedictory address, don't take them for granted. If you still have parents or a parent, don't let your time with them slip away. Spend time with them and make sure they know how much you appreciate their help. I know I got a little choked up during my daughter's graduation ceremony this past June. Some of you probably know how I felt. And now we know how our parents felt when we graduated and how they feel about us today. And I won't forget about the kindness shown to me by my adopted parents. I'm sure I won't remember them all, but you know who you are. Just to name a few, the Shaneroths, the Balkans, the Kyles, and the Campbells. Thank you. Maybe you had these types of parents too. These are the ones that were parents of your friends that welcomed you into their homes, served you meals, and put up with you showing up out of the blue and then darting out with their sons and daughters for whatever activities or shenanigans you were into. And the teachers. I'll forget to mention some, but don't think you're any less important just because of my forgetfulness. Brent Eidsness. Thanks for keeping us humble. Awkward, blunt, and honest. Perfect attributes for what we needed as students. Bill Weir. Natural leader and moral compass. Showed us what we could become in only a few short years with a lot of hard work. Daryl Wicks. Always covered in chalk. But that's because he knew his math, and he knew that we had to be shown to understand. The amount of chalk he was covered in was one way to measure how much he actually cared. And he usually had it on his shirt, pants, and halfway up his forearm. Gay Miller. One of the most energetic teachers I've ever had the pleasure of being taught by. Our last year was her last year of teaching before retirement. And we could tell. Our English class watched Braveheart 4 times. The movie is 3 hours long. I think she took it easy on us. Rita Shep. One of the kindest teachers in Greenall's history. She made English class, which was my least favorite class, bearable, and in my last semester, helped me improve a poor mark I got in the same English class that I took in the previous semester. One very classy teacher. Joanne Beach. She was my inspiration for motivating me to excel. Also an English teacher. What's with all the English teachers? Remember that poor mark I got in English in my second last semester? It was in her class that I received that mark, and I thought I deserved a better mark. So, unintentionally, she inspired me to take the class again and improve enough to meet my goals. In a strange way, that experience has shaped me and made a significant impact in how determined I am in everything I do. Many of these teachers put in way too much extracurricular time just for us. In case you don't know how much this meant and how much it was appreciated, know that your efforts are invaluable and timeless. You've shaped lives and formed young adults. If you're still teaching, keep fighting the good fight, even though being an educator seems to be getting harder and harder. Thanks again. Speaking of things getting harder and harder, have you been following the news lately? How about for the past 25 years? Why are world events getting so crazy? News was the furthest thing from my mind 25 years ago. Why would I waste my time watching or listening to the news? That's what old people do. The news is out of my hands and has nothing to do with me, right? Well, I changed my mind on that in my early 20s. All of a sudden, in the real world, things that happen out there matter. I know that newspapers are practically extinct, and there are growing negative views about the media, but if you haven't already, start listening or watching the news. You need to know what's going on out there. Politics is one area of the news I found particularly dry, but it's so important. I won't get into my political views, but I will say that if you are living in Canada or another country where you have the right to vote, please vote. Vote at the civic, provincial, and federal levels. And please do your research. It matters what you think, and what we all think. Our collective values are channeled through the votes into leaders of our country. Do your part. One of the reasons why this is so important is because authoritarian governments around the world are getting stronger. Russia's bold move to invade Ukraine, China's growing economy and population, and Iran's continued commitment towards nuclear power status should remind us to remember our freedoms and continue to insist that they are non-negotiable in our modern world. The war in Ukraine drags on, but don't let war coverage fatigue overwhelm you. It's just as important now as it was in February. People are still dying and suffering is still happening, and will continue happening until Russia is driven out. Keep following the events. Make sure you hold the media and your elected leaders to account, and help out where you can. And, if you hadn't noticed, we've been in a pandemic since 2020. That's pretty newsworthy and has caused a lot of division. A lot of people who previously thought they had similar views suddenly were polar opposites. That surprised me. But the overall trend is that people are getting angrier and less tolerant of others and their views. Now, because you and I have different views and opinions, you won't even listen to my ideas, and you may even try to cancel me on my platform. I thought we were supposed to share ideas and grow together and build a better society upon our commonalities. Even though you or I may not agree with what someone is saying, it's not acceptable to withhold someone's freedom to say their piece, at least in this country. Someone makes a mistake or says something insensitive, and he gets pounced on and targeted until his reputation is ruined. The collective sensitivity of society has been dialed up to 11. People are on edge and live in fear of saying something inappropriate or insensitive. For those who feel offended by what others say or do, just let it go. Don't use it as your opportunity to further your cause or get your 15 minutes of fame. Think of how society has changed in 25, 50, and 100 years. What was acceptable back then isn't acceptable now. Does that mean we should pretend like it never happened? No. Acknowledge that a particular time in history allowed for it, and that we've progressed to a more inclusive society. But don't try to erase history. That causes division in society. What was was, don't give in to cancel culture. That's probably enough ranting. Back to reminiscing. The friends I had and the socialization I did in high school are among my treasured memories. I hope you feel the same. Popularity was important to me, although it probably shouldn't have been. I loved my car stereo, my friends, and socializing. If I could go back, I would advise against the pursuit of popularity, and that the better path is towards honorable behavior and being true to yourself. Taking that advice would have helped me be less embarrassed about my beliefs. Around the time I was in high school, the Lutheran church I was a member of had a campaign to bring people back to church. Some of you may remember signs saying, "Let's go to church." Some of you may remember me deriding them. A shameful decision on my part. I was born a Lutheran, baptized, confirmed, married, and had my children baptized and confirmed in the Lutheran Church. And I'm an active member today. Even playing the organ at my church, Prince of Peace Lutheran Church in Regina. If you're looking for a church home, we have room for you, and it's a great home to have. Drop by sometime. My point is, don't be afraid of your religion, your beliefs, who you are, especially when you're young. It's hard, because of how popular culture tries to pull you away from it. But try to resist. It becomes much easier as you age. You wouldn't have caught me dead saying this sort of thing 25 years ago, but here I am saying it now. Be thankful for everything you have, because everything that's good that you have was given by God. Well, I've rambled on enough. It's time to leave you with some closing thoughts and advice. Be humble. Be kind. Be forgiving. Ask for forgiveness. Repent. Did you know that repent means to turn away? That means you stop doing the stupid things you just did and don't repeat your mistakes. I learned that in church. Be generous, especially with your time. Find time for others. I know I just said be generous, but be smart with your money too. Some might say I'm cheap, but others might say,
"You're extremely careful with money."
You'll need it when you're older, or your children need it. Earn while you can, because there will come a day when you won't be able to earn money. That said, use what you need, but don't be wasteful. Remember that earthly possessions are temporal. You'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. Be understanding. Be moral. Be ethical. Don't take people for granted. Be patient. Slow down, especially when driving. I've been known to go under the speed limit sometimes because I left early and I wasn't in a hurry. Or maybe I was just trying to save some gas because my wallet takes a dent every time I fill up. Either way, remember the speed limit is a maximum. If it was an opening offer, it would say minimum. Don't honk, tailgate, swear, or anything else that constitutes road rage. Just go around and move on. Life is full of trade-offs. Don't get too concerned if something isn't perfect. Many times, good enough is the better approach than the pursuit of perfection. Don't waste a lot of time and money on a perfect ambition when you'd be almost as satisfied with an imperfect but acceptable outcome. That said, continue to shoot high. Don't hold grudges. Well, unless you're, you know who you are. Have a sense of humor. Learn how to take a joke. Be sensitive to others' feelings. Don't antagonize or incite others. Eat well and exercise in moderation. Make it a lifestyle. Stay safe. Don't be stupid, but take safe risks. Acknowledge that mental illness is real. Mental health is paramount, and watch for your own and loved ones' mental health. People are losing their lives and losing the quality of their life because of mental illness. If you suspect anything, reach out to a health professional. If you can't do that, reach out to a friend. And for the love of all that is well and good, please use multi-factor authentication when a website offers it to you. It's one of the most effective ways to prevent your accounts from getting hacked, and it's a worthwhile inconvenience to incur. Thanks for watching. Maybe I'll be back in another 25 years, God willing. Feel free to reach out. You can find me on LinkedIn or just add your comments to this video. As they say in Latin, vale.